We welcome Chef Marti, Master Chef Marti. Chef Marti Mongiello is a story weaver, intoxicating his audiences by stage and television across the world. A mesmerizing speaker, he's published 14 plus books, 200 plus pages, giving over 100 speeches, keynotes internationally in Europe, Asia, and Americas. Featured on CBS, PBS, ABC, NBC, CNN, and Fox to almost 3 billion viewers, is only eclipsed by articles in 160 plus newspapers and magazines like the Washington Post, LA Times, and the Australian, the New Yorker, the Food TV Network magazine, the Times of London, and many, many more. And his latest television series, Inside the President's Cabinet. Marti is a former White House chef, private investigator, security expert, executive chief, and GM of the Camp David Resort and Conference Center, working with the past 5 presidents, actually 6 presidents, I believe, for 25 plus years, from H.W. Bush through Trump. He is a disabled, injured military veteran with 30 years in the U.S. Navy, retired certificate serving in wars across 3 continents. Marti served as a butler, housekeeper, military aide, bartender, carrying the proverbial chalice for his or her majesty to drink from, having been trained by the CIA, USMC, Navy, and Army in specialized courses for nuclear, chemical, and poisoning. When he was first received his top secret Yankee White SCI clearance, he was in the nuclear submarine fleet and had been identified as a polyhistory and polymath masters from Lenore-Rhine University, master certified food executive. He has attained his bachelor's from the Art Institute, summa cum laude. I know he is actually working on his doctorate right now. There is so much more to say about you, Marti, and I know this does not even touch where you have been in the world, what you have done, and the lives and the stories that you truly have been just elevated to. He is definitely award-winning multiple times over, and his international Rotary, the global Rotary community is touched beyond belief. I know he's an entrepreneur on steroids. He is not human. He doesn't sleep. I know that. Dawn knows that. And so, Marti, please.
I get plenty of sleep, trust me. One of the problems is I cannot sleep generally more than 4 to 6 hours per night. I get physically sick. So after living inside of this body, you figure out like what to do and what not to do. So what is best for you and what is not best for you. And I think we're all trying to figure that out as thrivers, what it's going to take physically to thrive and to excel. So that's super important. I'm going to go on ahead and present today and just make sure that we can see my slide deck here. So everybody should be able to see.
Beautiful. Yep, it's coming up. You're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And does that look okay? Does anybody want me to make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, it looks great. I'm good with it, Dawn.
Okay. Well, great. As you guys know, it's my honor to present today. This is my presentation for thriverspeak.com. One of the books most recently come out, the 14th book that I've worked on, I've been featured in 19 others, is called Warning Children Are Not Weapons. It has gone up to the #1 slot in its category, and it's currently a nominee at the United States Presidential Service Center, which is really not up to me for the James Madison Award, but we have at this point 8 judges that are reading the book, and we've already received commentary back from one of them. So I just remove myself from those things. It would be inappropriate conduct and tainted for me to be involved in that. But they will let me know how they feel, and I will obviously present that and be super excited either way. I'm a professor of practice at ICFAA University in India. People have asked me, why aren't you associated with a real college or university like an Ivy League college? And my answer to that is I actually am associated with an ass-kicking university, okay? I'm associating myself with the largest population the human race has ever known, out of over 8 billion people in India, where everything is happening, in my opinion. And so today, I would like to share with you a little bit about this position, a little bit what it's like to work in the president's bedroom, in their bathroom, in their living room, in their dining room, certainly in the kitchen. You put the chef's coat on around 4 o'clock and you'll be preparing dinner tonight for 3 people. It could be 300. The number could fluctuate in this role, and you have to be very cool as they keep calling and talking with you. And yeah, it's 48 tonight for dinner. What time? 6? Okay. You have to be very, very careful with your attitude. Yeah. 86 now? And you want to eat at 5:30. All right, that's cool too. No, I'm not pissed, bro. No, it's good. You have to be very flexible in this role. Trust me, because it is a moving target. It is a constant moving target. And you never know what they're going to say and what is coming next. So when they call you at 10 o'clock at night and dinner still has not gone down, and you're now down to like 12 people, and the American soccer team has all gone home now, and they ask you, are you pissed yet? The answer is always no, I'm not pissed. Well, what are you going to do with all the food? I mean, because at one point I had told you 86 people. Yeah, that was at 5:30, bro. You told me 86. It went from 48 to 86, and you shaved a half hour off. Don't worry, I'm taking all the chicken. I'm making chicken salad. We're going to have chicken salad tomorrow. I'm getting out brand new stuff. Well, how many is it going to be at 10 o'clock tonight? How many are we? Well, you're sounding like you're starting to escalate the intonation of your throat and voice, Marty. No, I'm not. I'm happy. I was just saying, well, just tell me what I'm doing. I'm ready to receive the information. So you have to be cool in this position. It is a lot of high pressure. You're also a butler. You're a bartender. You're working in the military. There are no hours. You will work 126 hours per week. You will work 7 days per week. You will do 18 hours per day if you're told to. And if you don't want to do this job, you can go to prison. We call it the brig in the Navy. We have almost 75 Navy chefs that run 2 restaurants underneath the Oval Office in the White House. We have travelers that travel with the president in civilian clothes and make sure that the food that they're eating is safe, and the hotel room that they're staying in, that DNA capture is not a process through towels, washcloths, bed sheets. We will take everything, we will burn it, we will take everything away with us. And so we have a lot of responsibilities, also running the Camp David Resort on top of the mountain, working in the Orange 1 nuclear bunker, and doing a lot of these positions, being a bartender till 2 o'clock in the morning. Take off your white chef's coat, put an apron on and a polo shirt, and come out here and serve drinks. As Jeannie said, the proverbial chalice is the oldest trick in the book. Right? The oldest trick in the book. Give him something, put it in the friggin' chalice, the king will drink it, and the king dies. And then we have a new king. It's going to be the prince. He wants to poison his dad. Okay, this is the oldest trick in the book. And these are things that I talk about live on stage at all of my presentations and speeches worldwide. And I showcase a lot of this job, even as a housekeeper, or putting this little name card, probably one of the most famous name cards down on the table in front of that plate. Okay. These are the things people want to see. The opportunity or chance of them getting in to the White House to a state dinner is very slim. We generally have about 300, 320 people at the dinners. And this was the first couple that I was hired by. His name was George H.W. Bush, is what we call him. We just call him H.W. Okay. And he had other names, trust me. And his wife, Barb, they were really cool. And of course, I think you guys know I cooked every day of the week for these folks. I did state dinners in the American White House. I've cooked for foreign presidents, a king of the Royal Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, King Abdullah II, and his wife, Queen Rania Abdullah, who our daughter is named after, Rania al-Yassan, Rania al-Abdullah. And this is, of course, a fun job. Also, Thanksgiving's coming up. Here I am serving turkey to the, and this lady must have taken like 150 to the point where it was like, I can't even friggin' see anymore. Okay. Stop taking photos. Well, this is going to USA Today in about 4 minutes. I was like, okay, I'm blind. I'm actually over here trying to cut. And so Bill stepped in this day and he said to me a funny thing. He said, Marty, I always loved carving a turkey myself because I've always felt like I was kind of like a surgeon in there with the blade. And I was like, I don't know if that's like really a cool thing to be like relating to me, Mr. President. Oh, come on, Marty. And so you get to hear funny stuff from these people. And all of these presidents I have worked with through one way or another, or been called back to the White House to work with them, to help them on veterans issues, post 9/11 GI Bill issues. All of these presidents I have worked with through one way or another. Okay. Many, many times people have asked me, well, how did you work for Trump? How is it? I heard you got paid like a telephone number by Don. I'm like, yeah, I did. Okay. All before Don ever mentioned anything about wanting to run for the president of the United States. Okay. And so it's been a great honor to, as Jeannie said now, to serve 6 presidents of the United States. And they are pretty cool to work for. Of course, as Jeannie mentioned, I was in the Navy. Okay. I was a bad product of being kicked out of the Air Force as a disgrace in my family. And I think we heard a lot of sad stories yesterday, starting with Dr. Elise, and wondering what I would do with my life. And then not having ever seen my mother since the age of 4. And, my dad said, well, luckily the Navy will take you with multiple drug waivers. Okay. And doesn't matter that you were in jail. Okay. Or a gang member. The Navy is not as strict as the Air Force. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go into the Navy. This is God's providence. I guess that's what I'll do. And that's how I got into the Navy and got to admire things like Air Force One and HMX One, which we call Marine One, and to be in this job and position. And today I would like to showcase 3 presidents of the United States. And in that regard, I would like to showcase these particular 3 presidents. These would not be the only 3 that have parental alienation issues and abusive home lives that have threatened them, their future and their psychological capability to become a thriver. And as thrivers, nothing can hold us back from becoming our best, not even the highest position in the land. Okay. And that's very, very important for everybody to remember, and every person that's ever watching this in the future. And so the first one that I would like to showcase is Gerald Ford. And I think a lot of people believe this is this guy's, real name, but it's not. Douglas Brinkley, who was a biographer of many of the presidents from Rice University, once profiled Leslie Lynch King Sr., the president's dad. And so I would like to bring light and truth to this as to who his real father is and these abandonment issues. And he definitely said he was the worst dad to a modern president, hands down. Jerry's dad was a heavy drinking, Mr. King, and abusive. And the president's mom actually left 16 days after the president was born. And so after a divorce was finalized, the president's biological dad obviously refused to pay child support. You can read it right there, these sad facts. And people are often shocked at the things I have to say here at the United States Presidential Culinary Museum or on stage. And so they often question or have said things like, how dare you denigrate and expose this level of filth and these types of things? And, you know, because they happen, Marty, it doesn't necessarily mean people have to hear about them. And I always say, look, this was in the newspaper. This was in the Washington Post. This was in the Denver Post. I'm only repeating it. So I like to make sure that my research and things that I present have long references and biographies. In fact, I'm very famous for my 2 master's degrees at having the longest biographies. Even in some of my books, people say, I don't know how you would waste 12 pages in a book of biography and references and an index. You waste so much money, Marty, on all of this stuff, proving your facts, and your footnotes and your endnotes are punishing. Some of your footnotes are as big as the whole page, you know, and it's just all about research and protecting yourself, because some people are very shocked to hear these things and to understand them. And so Ford was given the last name of his stepfather, and is believed to have met his biological father only once, and always said, quote, his father gave him away. And so this has been a tough road to hoe for this particular president, Jerry Ford. And what I would like to do is I would like to give you a little preview into this president's life and let you take a look at a sneak peek here of he and his wife, because a lot of people sometimes have never actually seen like what it is to be on the inside and to experience this family. And so you may not know that his wife, Betty Ford, married Jerry and was very proud of him as a football player. He was a big guy. He would do very well in football at university. And I have a snippet here for you of one of our shows about Betty Ford and about their life together. This is not very long, so let me play this for you, and I'll just drop this screen sharing here. Hey everybody, Chef Marty Mongiello again here at the Presidential Culinary Museum, and today we're going to take a look at Betty Ford, one of my favorites, on Inside the President's Cabinet. You know, Betty Ford is one of my favorites in today's day and age, with times up and many things that I have supported financially, as well as my wife. She is extremely outspoken, and you can see her here smiling with her husband Jerry and their dog. But also we have a wonderful thank you letter from President Ford that he sent to me when I retired. Martin, excuse me, but I think somebody may have put a cigarette butt into an angel's hands out in the dining room as a joke. I think maybe a guest did it, Martin. And they'll come into the kitchen and get me. And I have to tell them, oh my gosh, no. The First Lady of the United States did that. Don't worry about that. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, oh, you didn't read the thing? There's a placard up on the wall about the First Lady used to smoke. She would go out onto the brand new balcony, the Truman balcony, and she told the New York Times herself, I did a devilish thing. When I would come back into the yellow oval living room, I would take one of my butts and put it into an angel's hands on a vase, and I would put them in there. And if you had to live with Richard Nixon's aseptic furniture that he left behind, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars with brand new furniture, and there was pretty much no way that Jerry and I were going to get brand new furniture. So not after all of that expense that they had authorized. So, and Betty often would march in NOW for you young ladies today. And ERA, she was at the front of those marches, and people were aghast. Her girlfriends would even pull her aside and say, how can you even be out there marching with all of those women? I mean, honestly, Betty, it's so inappropriate. And she really did not care, guys. And Sheila Rabb Weidenfeld will see the cigarette butt one day and mentions it to the First Lady. There is a cigarette butt in that angel's hands over there, First Lady. I put that there every day to see if these housekeepers have noticed it. It's amazing that you saw it, Sheila. It's very interesting. Yes, she said, oh, yes, ma'am, you're putting that there every day. Do they know about it? Well, no, of course they don't know about it. I'm waiting to see if they see it, okay, if they notice it. Yes, so somebody might have tipped off the housekeepers on our staff. Remember, I was a butler, a housekeeper, a chef, also a bartender, and a military aide, okay? So somebody might have tipped off amongst my friends that, you know, the First Lady's targeting you guys upstairs. You might wanna, yeah, okay. So that doesn't last forever. She's not doing that forever. This is well published in books like The Residence, and Betty herself mentioned this in a huge article, beautiful, in the New York Times, that she did this. Often people have wondered, you know, well, I wonder why she smoked and drank and took pills, because she did have a pills addiction also. Okay? And if you are receiving over 100 letters per week attacking you and the president for the filth of your Christian behavior, and many of the letters, guys, there's only so many that can be read, okay, therapeutically by Betty, and there's many of them that one has to go to the service. Saying that one's threatening, that's actually threatening bodily harm, that goes to the, and yes, this is a huge problem. What are the letters so angry about with Betty? Why is she drinking? Okay, the letters that are coming in, people are very, very, very pissed off that they are sleeping in bed together. Can you believe the gall and audacity? And Betty inflames the situation and says, you know, well, I think that's very popular for husbands and wives to sleep together. There's billions of us on this planet, and why don't we issue a formal response to that to the press? Have this typed up. It's just going to be one sentence. And people in the press get the official response. Okay, so this is on the First Lady's letterhead. It says, well, just one sentence, is the president supposed to be a eunuch? ? That is her official response, okay? And she says, this is not the Dick Van Dyke Show. We are not going to go back to having the separate bedrooms and okay? I don't think we're doing anything that's filthy within Christianity or anything like that, okay? This is just normal behavior between adults, okay? And we're married and in love with each other, so. Also, the letters mention things like, this is a fake president. Not a single person ever voted for this man to become president of the United States. And within history, a lot of our students today are wondering, how is it possible for a person to become president of the United States and never have been voted in, okay? Don't forget, the vice president was offered to either resign, Spiro Agnew, or to be arrested, okay? So he is already gone, and that's how Jerry came in to become the vice president. And you armchair historians out there who are wondering how this is possible, especially all of our young friends and colleagues, this is some fascinating stuff to look up. Now, I do want to mention, bear in mind that Betty knows that she is a drunk and has a problem, and she will later on say in speeches up on stage that I cleaned myself up. I had a family intervention in the living room one day. It was about a year after Jerry and I left office. I said weird things like, how am I a drunk? I never fell down, stumbled, or said anything inappropriate on stage, not even once, okay? And also, I never finished a whole bottle by myself. So how do I have a problem? And she does actually invent and becomes the first CEO of a wonderful thing on earth. It is called the Betty Ford Clinic, and it is going super strong these days. Do you know that it is the Hazelden Betty Ford Clinics all across the United States? And if you have a challenge in life or a problem, if it's opioid addiction or drugs or drinking or sex or whatever it is. If you're a rock star, a politician, a musician, or an actor, you have a place to go now. And the public is quite accepting. You know, if you just honestly say, I've been having some problems, I may have an addiction, I'm going to the Hazelden Betty Ford Clinic. So be thankful for Betty Ford that she had the strength to do this and to come out and to help people and to put herself into rehabilitative therapy. And she does restore and clean up her entire life. So be thankful for her. Thank you for joining us and celebrating a wonderful shero, Betty Ford, here on Inside the President's Cabinet. All right, I'm just going to pause that and stop that. I think it's very important that we realize we are talking about presidents today, but look at a first lady who I just showcased and everything that she went through and changed her entire life. And even the attacks for having several different facial surgeries and things after she came out of the clinic. She said, you know, I wanted to touch myself up, and people are aghast that I had plastic surgery and are accusing me in that regard now. And, you know, so essentially go to hell, mind your own business, you know, and give people a break. We're all not perfect out there by far. I don't think anyone is perfect, but we have an opportunity today to also look at, you know, an amazing first lady and everything that she went through. And we also have the opportunity to think about to ourselves what her children went through. Because remember, she said, I had that intervention. It was about a year after we left, and they didn't go back to Ann Arbor, you know, which is where many people were accusing them. You know, like, we want to know the name of your church. We're going to go riot there with 4,000 people, because any kind of a human leader who says that sleeping together is okay, we are going to surround that church and riot, okay? And it may be pitchforks and torches, but we'll change the way that idiot pastor, minister, whatever it is, or he is, we will change the way it thinks as well. If it's a priest, tell me now. It's like you're guessing all over the map. We're not going to give you the name of their church from Michigan. Psycho. And the Secret Service is actually coming to visit with you. Okay. So, you know, while you're accusing people of all this crazy stuff, you know, and I think sometimes people do wonder, like, what was it like for the president with what all he had gone through? Okay. All that he had gone through. And so looking on the inside, you may have never have heard any of these stories before or seen any of this featured. I think it's very important to take a peek on the inside of the first family's lives and to wonder to yourself, from somebody that worked on the inside, exactly what were they going through and what is all the story behind all that. So I would like to present to you some contemplation and homework of what some of the most famous people in the world may have gone through today within Jerry Ford, but also Betty Ford, the First Lady of the United States, Betty Ford. And I will move on at this time to the next slide, please. And so doing this job every day of the week, wearing the tall white hat, working at the Camp David Resort, working in the Orange 1 nuclear bunker underground, working around the nuclear briefcase, having a top secret clearance, listening to Jeannie struggle with SCI. And what does that mean? Secret compartmented, you know, investigation. You know, spending 14 months of an HR process to be allowed to come to work for the first day was pretty daunting, where they dump about 400 grand to investigate both sides of the family is pretty friggin' daunting for anybody to have to go through that long of an HR investigation. Because remember, you're being trained about observing, you know, needles being put into chicken breasts, how to shop properly and never go to the same grocery store twice. Okay, because if you establish patterns of where you shop in civilian clothes, you're not going out in your uniform. if you establish a pattern of where you drive and who's following you, who's bugging, tapping, photographing, filming, you can hear the clicks on the phone all the time and stuff, okay, the whole time you're doing this job. People will then set stuff up ahead of time. Like, yes, he goes to that one grocery store all the time, and he is there. And that is how we know we have a special dinner coming up. It's like, okay, so what did you do then with that, Abdul? That time we assigned one operative to do needle in tomato in front of him, needle in jacket, 20, 30, 40 tomato with strychnine in it. And we are watching where Martin is shopping. Okay, so then Marty didn't go to the grocery store that way. And by the way, don't forget, in your entire attorney general plea deal, you're getting a brand new name, brand new fingerprints, facelift, Operation Abdul, and you'll be living actually, we've got a 7-Eleven that you're owning in Washington State. That's where you'll be moving to. And so this is how we often unwind what people are trying to do in this job. And these are all things that you have to be trained for exactly how to do and how to cook for a president and a first family to keep them alive. So, Clinton was no different. Bill Clinton. I would like to just highlight today that Roger Clinton, his dad, was an absentee father to Bill. And Brinkley has said that Bill Clinton recounted how his heavy drinking stepfather beat his mother. And I have met Bill's mom many, many times. Okay. So it's painful to think about these things, about a heavy drinking stepfather who's new into these equations, that we have heard about these equations for 2 days now. Even Aaron yesterday was speaking about his stepdad, and they didn't really resonate very well all the time. But now you've got a stepfather there that's beating your own mother. And as a young man, Bill actually threatened Roger and told him, if you touch my mom again, I'm going to break your head. Okay, so a lot of people, they just have never heard about these stories. They don't know that Bill grew up with dirt floors in his house and had dirt underneath his bare feet. They think that our presidents are gods on earth and are best friends with Zeus, and maybe are going to ride in with his 8-legged horse Sleipnir pulling the chariot, and they don't really know the truth about what many of them have gone through. Bill's biological father, by the way, William Jefferson Blythe. If you've ever wondered why Bill's name is William Jefferson Blythe Clinton, this is why. He has 4 names, typically sometimes associated with his name, William Jefferson Blythe Clinton. He is Bill Clinton. We call him Bubba, and maybe not to his face, but that's what we call him. His dad was an Arkansas salesman who died in a car crash before Bill was born in 1946. And Blythe had been married 3 times before he met Bill's mom, Virginia. And, this is something that has been a bit of a tough situation. And I would say the last step of my investigation, when I was called, some of the tough questions I received about this new president were, do you have any comments that you want to make about a pot smoking hippie that's doping and got sunglasses on with a saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show? And I was like, no, not really. I have 2 drug waivers myself, even to be being considered for this job in my federal record. So no, I don't have any questions like that. Anything about him being barefoot in the White House with bib overalls on and a straw hat or a piece of rye sticking out of his mouth, I was like, honestly, where do you come up with this stuff? He's like, well, I tell you, to tell you the truth, Petty Officer Mongiello, I was a first-class petty officer at the time. I just got off the phone with a Master Chief Petty Officer who read me the riot act into the phone about this guy. Okay. And your hero actually is not going to be the president now. I was like, a Master Chief was saying all this nasty stuff about the new president? A Master Chief in the Navy? Yeah, he's on an aircraft carrier right now. We've been investigating him. We think we've wasted over $300,000. He's never, ever, never, never, ever, never going to work at the White House military office, ever. I was like, oh, well, gosh, I actually don't care if it's a green alien, a female green alien with antennas sticking out of its head. I thought my job was to serve the presidency. And he's like, that's a good answer because your top secret is approved. I didn't want to say it. I just had to check and see if there was any reason why you didn't want to do this job now with this new guy. It's not going to be contested by the Supreme Court. We are doing the CIA briefings with him every day. This is in November. This is around November 20th. Okay. And he is going to be the next president of the United States of America. So you're cleared. You can come to work. In about 2 months, I'm going to send you a fax. And I got a fax, the old thermal paper. I think I have a fax machine here for you guys. Does anybody remember the fax machines? Anybody? Uh-oh.
I think all of, yeah.
Yeah. Your favorite sound, a fax is coming through, and I pulled it off, and it rolled up. And the agent had drawn like a map with a pen with an X in the middle of the forest and said, drive here. And somebody will pull up next to you and take you into the Camp David Resort. So I was like, holy God, this is like from outer space. Okay. So, given enough time, it is 3:45. I'm not going to run a Clinton episode for you. I'm going to move on to the next president. But if you would like to see a Bill Clinton episode, go to our website, Martin CJ Mongiello at YouTube, and watch the Clinton episode. It's pretty funny. The next slide I would like to share with you and President is, of course, a drug user himself and the troubled childhood of President Obama. And so I don't know how many more examples we would need to look at like this of parental alienation and troubled childhoods and how you can grow up to become a shero or a hero. But I'm going to give it to you today to open your mind. And for everybody that's watching this next year, 3 years from now on the paywall, and you paid to see these seminars and things, and you're watching this right now, this is the year of 2024 right now. But Barack Obama Sr. Was our 44th president here in the United States. And actually, Barry is what we call him. People ask me, yeah, what are their nicknames? What do you really say about them? I'm like, Barry is what we call him. Okay. What about this guy right now? Pops? You talking about Pops? That's really insulting, Marty. I'm like, bro, he has on the back of his ball cap, Pops. On his jacket, it says Pops. Okay. In scroll. That's what we call him. Okay. But Barry has memory of only seeing his father one time in his hippocampus. The elder Obama married Stanley Ann Dunham 6 months before his son's birth in 1961. And he told his new wife he had been married but was divorced, which was a lie. Okay. They separated shortly after the younger Obama's birth, which is Barry, and his father did not contest the divorce a couple of years later in 1964. And his mother's second husband, Lolo Soetoro, would try to beat her, Brinkley has reported and said. So again, it's very important that I have references to these things because people like to contest what I have to say on stage and debunk it and attack me or shame me or how dare you mention that. And so I always make sure that everything I have to say can be backed up in writing with a reference. And I think the big caveat today is it's important to note that presidents' relationships with their own children have transcended their own tough beginnings. And historians have noted that Clinton, Ford, and Obama all have had close relationships with their children. And so we can see that we have the opportunity to change the way that we act and behave, and that is extremely important. So that's incumbent upon us to break the cycle. And the beatings, that I mentioned about, and whippings and writhing on the floor and urinating through my blue jeans into the rug, and the merciless whippings and beatings back and forth, just looking up at my dad in this book, just maniacally again and again, like Silence of the Lambs, just whipping and beating as you writhe and you put everything out there to try and stop the beating on your main bodice. So you typically start as a child with with one hand until it gets whipped so badly you go for the other hand, and then you actually learn through whippings and beatings to put a leg up and then the other leg, and then all four of those are whipped so badly, the whipping on your bodice and cage and rib cage and buttocks and legs ends up getting the maniacal treatment. So I think that those things that I talked about and many other things that are filthy and disgusting in my forward that are revolting and will make people revulse to the point where we've had folks that said, I couldn't even speak or read any longer. I had to call somebody else. Besides all of the maniacal whipping and all that stuff that you just talked about, the other stuff, Marty, I could not even continue to read it, verbalize, think. It was disgusting and sickening. Okay. And those are the things that we have the opportunity to break. So when people ask me, do I whip, beat, punch, hurt my children? It's no. Okay. I do not. I never have. Okay. I even apologized to our daughter the other day and said, I'm not even going to raise my voice towards you anymore because I have decided I'm not going to do that. Okay. But the beatings I got will forever be remembered. And so, no, I'm not doing those moving forward. I have broken the cycle in my family, and my father was beaten badly. And I talk about the violence of my grandmother in my forward towards other human beings. And I have mentioned about my dad being strung up upside down from the rafters in the basement. And so people, they don't need to wonder, like, why did he leave at 18 and join the army immediately? So you don't need to wonder. And so with that, I would like to thank you so much for having me today to showcase and share some presidents with parental alienation issues, presidents of the United States. And I'll open up the floor to questions.
I just think it's amazing to see how this proliferates. I can't even talk right now, throughout our communities, regardless of how rich or poor you are, or what demographic you're part of, what race or religion you're part of. None of that matters because nobody's immune. Nobody's immune. So from the farmhouse to the White House, and there's people around the world that are struggling with the same things. And this is something that's been going on for centuries. So it's not new. This isn't new information. It's just unspoken and normalized. So it's great to see this presentation on how the fathers have been absent from even our president's lives in the way that it affected them as children, but to see them become the president of the United States.
Amazing.
So it's amazing that resilience is there. So what I would really like to point to by saying that, and this is something that at least I deal with a lot, is that we hear quite often that because of our type of trauma, we are broken and beyond repair. We've heard it over and over and over again that there's no hope, there's no help. Just live the best life you can live because there's nothing I can do. This is the card you were dealt. These are the things that we hear a lot. So that means the therapists are not trained to identify and able to help us. But what we've proven is that we can take measures into our own hands, and we have. All of us here have. Presidents have. They've changed how they treat their children. And, however the dynamic worked as far as being alienated or psychologically abused in their family circle, it's just something to think about when we go forward and why we're doing what we're doing, because there's millions of us out there, millions of children.
And maybe somebody like Aaron, he said, when he was about 6, he started to come to realize at school, other kids were asking him about his daddy and where's your daddy? And how come you don't have a daddy? And then when you see stuff like what's happened with these guys, you know, maybe Aaron doesn't feel so bad anymore. It's like, oh my gosh, I never knew. We never knew his story, but he never knew this story about like just 3 presidents.
Yeah. Someone mentioned to me the other day about, well, you know, if I don't ever talk or see my father, what difference does it make? And not thinking that they have no idea sometimes that there's alienation or this psychological abuse. Psychological abuse doesn't have to be a vicious or violent communication. Doesn't really mean it has to be negative. It can just be gaslighting. Gaslighting can be so subtle and yet still hurt. It still hurts like a knife. So, you know, it could just be something about, you know, you're just like your father. That is psychological abuse, when you, especially when that's constant. So we don't know what really goes on in the homes of children, on any of us, from, you know, us in our own personal lives and experiences, or the president's. And that's why we have to speak out about it. We have to speak out about this because it's so damaging, and it's so empowering at the same time to see all of us coming out and speaking and sharing these stories. So thank you, Marti, for that presentation and shining a light on how the presidents have experienced the same sort of situations and have become presidents of the United States. That's amazing.
Amazing. And you can become anything you want to be, my grandmother always said. Anything you want to be.
I want to put out into the universe, thanks to you, Marti, that maybe the president or the National Center for Exploited Kids will endorse this book, being that it is groundbreaking. So I'm putting it out to the universe. Just saying.
I think the awards just keep on coming in. Yeah.
Thank you, Marti. We love you, Marti, and we're really happy that you're back with us today. We all missed you like mad because you've been out doing special things today after your first hurricane, but we're very glad you're back with us.
Well, I'll see everybody in the green room. We have about 4 minutes before the world show begins. I'm going to run over to the studio.
Okay.
Let me get this. I want to get that link. So everybody's joining?
Yes. Is there a different link that we need, Dawn?
Marti, is it the same link for the attendees as well?
Marti?
The attendees can if they want to be up on stage, then yes, it's the same secret link.
Okay, so they can watch it on any platform. It's going
or
to be...
if they want to participate, they can just be on YouTube. They can just be on LinkedIn.
Okay.
They can be on Facebook, X, watching, and they're still able to comment and talk with the panel, you know, live.
So let's tell them what we're doing.
If they want to be on stage, then they do need to use the secret link to get in, which is, you know, brings them into the green room, and they'll find themselves in there.
So what I would like to let them know is we're ending the day with another panel discussion, but this panel discussion is going live and it's being broadcast everywhere. So it's going to be global and on all your favorite platforms. So LinkedIn, YouTube. I think there was a couple other locations. Jeannie or Marti, or Patty, you want to mention a couple more?
I know Twix, Marti, as well as Roku. Is it Roku and Apple and Google?
Instagram, yes, X and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. Yep.
Yes, quite a bit.
Okay. So I'm going to find the link and then send that out for everybody too.
Yeah, and I can just put the secret link to the green room here again in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
So that'll people can come into the green room, and I'm going to get in there because we have 2 minutes. There is a penalty and a fine from LinkedIn under our contract for live streaming. We do need to start within 10 minutes. So we're supposed to be 4 to 5.
Okay. We'll see you all in there.
See you all over there.
Thank
I'll
you,
stay here for a
guys.
couple. I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on the final panel for the conference, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.